People everywhere are starting to listen to him. He's going on French, British, Italian, Japanese television.
This is the Wide World of Weingarten.
Welcome back. The Wide World of Weingarten. It is Monday, February 21st, 2:15 here in Los Angeles. President's Day. It's a holiday. The NBA All-Star Game was yesterday. It was the All-Star Weekend with the festivities on Saturday. I didn't watch any of it because it's all boring to me. And I haven't bet an NBA dunk contest since the Blake Griffin over JaVale McGee dunk contest was essentially fixed. Yeah, that was a long time ago, but I don't really screw around with NBA All-Star stuff anymore. And yeah, besides that, I watched about the third period of the Finland-Russia men's hockey final, and I watched a random couple minutes, or I don't even know what you call it, frames of curling. The Winter Olympics I thought was just not great. The presentation, everything around it was kind of disappointing. Really sucks because the Summer Olympics I thought was actually pretty cool, even if the presentation and everything around it being canceled and delayed was kind of lame. I'm a fan of the Winter Olympics. I'm a fan of the Summer Olympics. I'm not as big a fan of the Winter Olympics. Unfortunately, they just, it wasn't good, and didn't have any bets on it, so didn't really have to sweat anything. Just the gold medal game. I watched the end of that. Golf was a big thing last week. Joaquin Niemann went wire to wire at the Genesis Classic, shot 19 under. He really ran away with it early, shooting back-to-back 63s on Thursday and Friday. The win moved him up to 20th in the official world golf rankings. John Rahm, Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, Victor Hovland, and Rory McIlroy round out the top 5 going into the Honda Classic. None of them are playing. Maverick McNeely, favorite of mine. He finished tied for 7th with last week's winner Scottie Scheffler. Now up to 67th on the OWGR. Still without his first PGA Tour win though. Hopefully he'll break through sooner than later. He cashed top 10 plus 750 this week. Colin Morikawa, John Rahm, they both tied for the lowest rounds on Sunday. Morikawa, it ended up giving him a tie for second place with Chase Young. For Rahm, he ended up finishing tied for 21st, which was actually his worst PGA Tour finish since last May's Byron Nelson. He only has 3 PGA Tour finishes outside the top 15 in the last year. Both Morikawa and Rahm are out of the field this week. The only other notable finish in the top 10, CT Pan finished 9th, plays his way into the field at the Honda Classic with a top 10. Cashed the top 10 at 22-1 last weekend. I actually had that. That was cool. I believe that was the longest of the top 10s to cash last week, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was him and then Maverick McNeely. So that actually kind of worked out. I had both of those top 10s. Didn't have Joaquin Niemann before. I didn't have him before the tournament, so I did not win a future this week, but I did well on the top 10s, top 20s. If you listen to the golf podcast that VSiN puts out, Long Shots with Wes Reynolds and Brady Cannon, I think they've had winners 3 weeks in a row now. So congratulations to them. They're doing some pretty cool golf stuff. I like listening to their podcast. That's not a promo. I actually do listen to their podcast each week. But this week we got the Honda Classic. The West Coast swing moves over to Florida now. Fairly shit field, especially considering we were coming off a Masters level field at Riviera. So go over the course a little bit tomorrow, but it's a good course for Sung Jae Im, who's a previous winner here. Although I'm not rushing out to bet him at 12-1. I think that number is going to be available. Cameron Tringale withdrew from this tournament. I think he was like 25-1 or something. So they slightly repriced the odds a little bit in the last couple hours before, since I looked this morning. I saw like Matt Wolff was 50-1. He's already down to 35, 33. Not that I'm running out to bet Matt Wolff here, but I gotta look into the field a little bit deeper for a full card of bets. But the stuff right off the bat I like today. Luke Donald, he's a Florida resident, 4 top 10s at the at the Honda Classic. He'll probably get consideration for a top 10, top 20 from me. Lucas Herbert, I think he's like 80-1 to win. Might get a to win bet from me at that number. Probably will get a top 10, top 20 sort of deal as well. Davis Riley, top 10, 12-1. Also 180-1 to win outright at DraftKings. I think this is a good week to look for some long shots. The top of the market, I mean, you got Sung J M, 12-1 at the top of the market. So I'm gonna dive into this a little bit more. It's still early, it's still Monday, but Luke Donald, Lucas Herbert, Davis Riley, those were the first names that stood out. Sung J M, also compelling, but like I said, I'll do some more research on that this evening. We'll talk about it tomorrow. On the senior tour, the Chubb Classic, Bernard Langer wins again. He is a winning machine. There's actually this cool feature. They show his trophy room, and he just goes through showing people everything he's won in his golf career. He's had a damn impressive golf career. Still winning on the Champions Tour. I was impressed with him. Nobody was going to catch him. I didn't see live odds on this event anywhere, but Brian Gay played well. He finished top 5. I think he finished 3rd or 4th actually. Not really a contender though. With Bernard Langer just ran away with this, as he does occasionally. But he's double entered this week. He's in the Cologuard Classic field on the senior tour. He's also in the Honda, 12-1 after that top 5 finish. He's now a 12-1 top of the card guy at the Cologuard. Not particularly surprising. But I don't actually know where he's entered. He might be entered in the Honda field at 300-1. I gotta look at that a little bit more. Maybe he'll make that decision today. I haven't noticed. But yeah, he's down to 12-1 on the senior tour. Not particularly surprising. But Patrick Harrington, who's also in the Honda field now, he was 7-1. He was a 7-1 favorite last week. He shot an opening round 77, finished 5 over. First I was like, I don't know what the hell that's about, but I do know what it's about. He was coming off 2 weeks really good form in the UAE, cashed top 10 over there. But he came over here and disappointed in a Champions Tour field as a favorite. I did not understand why he was such a heavy favorite to begin with. But now he's on to Florida, and he'll probably, I think he's actually in the Honda Classic field already. He's a 2-time winner there. He's currently 130-1, but he's not going to get any money from me in Florida. I just wanted to point out you could be a 7-1 favorite 1 week on the PGA Tour, and you could be 130-1 in the field the next week in a full PGA event. Brian Gay, for example, is listed at 300-1 in this field. He's 12-1 in the Champions Tour field. But this week, the Champions Tour does play again. It's the Cologuard Classic in Tucson, Arizona. I'm interested in Steve Alker here, plus 750. We'll get a little bit of my money. And then Woody Austin at 40-1. Austin was the runner-up to Bernard Langer in 2020 here. 40-1, high price for a guy who has familiarity playing well on this course. Steve Alker, if you're not familiar with obscure Champions League golfer guys, just fill you in on him briefly. He fairly interesting guy. He played on the Euro Tour in 1998, 1999, all the way back when now. He has a full PGA Tour card in 2003, didn't hold on to it, ended up back on the minor tours in Europe and the US, made it back to the PGA in 2014, did not stick around long again. He Monday qualified into some Champions Tours events last year, won the TimberTech Champion to get full Champions Tour status. He played 10 events last year on the Champions Tour, finished, had a first, a second, a third. He had 9 top 10 finishes, made all 10 cuts in 10 events he played, won and he won $1.1 million. He's 2 for 2 top 10 so far this year. He's a co-favorite with Langer for the Cologuard Classic. I'm just taking him at plus 750 for a small bet. Nothing huge edgewise. The Euro Tour Dubai Tour is off for another week until the start of the African Swing in Kenya. 2 weeks off in a row, kind of disappointing, but I understand the quarantine and travel stuff they got to deal with. So no Euro Tour golf for another week. If you haven't followed along with the drama in the golf world with the Saudis and the PGA, it came to a head this weekend. Phil Mickelson gave an interview last weekend interview was public. I think he gave it back in like November or something, where he just gave an off the wall quote that was unbelievable. Like literally could not believe it was a real quote. But he said what he said, and he implied that he has 20 golfers lined up to play in this league, this Saudi Super Golf League, whatever it's called. But the guaranteed like $20 million prize pools, and very supposed to be player friendly, and it's not the PGA. But Phil Mickelson says he's got 20 professionals lined up to play in this new league, and some of the names were supposedly starting to leak included Bryson DeChambeau and Dustin Johnson, who was playing at Riviera this weekend. I think by Saturday morning, Dustin Johnson had come out and said he was committed to the PGA Tour, and Bryson DeChambeau followed later with a statement released by his people saying he was also committed to the PGA Tour. So it looks like that 20 person commitment that Phil Mickelson has dwindled rather quickly. The winds have shifted, as they say, and what seemed like a announcement that was coming at the Players Championship in the coming weeks is now likely dead on arrival again. Phil Mickelson has destroyed a lot of his probably reputation and sort of social capital over the last week. It looks like he's been abandoned, and it actually quite much reminds me of season 2 of The Sopranos, where Richie Aprile tries to take over the crew from Tony. He tries to enlist Junior in a hostile takeover of the crew of the organization. And after meeting with the other captains and realizing that Richie doesn't have their support or respect, Junior ends up siding with Tony in this case being the PGA. Basically realizing that Richie was weak and ineffective and didn't have the respect of the captains or the other leadership. And Phil is very much Richie Aprile in this situation. He does not have the respect of the other golfers. Nobody wants to side with him in this coup against the PGA, and he's seen his support from his other top guys who could really make a difference and sway some of the other players to jump ship. The DJs and Brysons have abandoned Phil, leaving him out there, and it's gonna be very, very interesting. Phil, if you watched The Sopranos, you know what happened to Richie Aprile. He ended up in the back of the Sauterelles meat market, getting ground up into sausage. Maybe I don't know if there was ever any clarification if he was actually ground up into sausage or what they did to him. But yeah, he was gone. I don't know if Phil's gonna be ground up into sausage, but he has lost a lot of support from the guys on the tour. And it looks like the Saudi League might be once again dead on arrival. So, like I said, I don't really, outside of my own politics and what I think about the Saudis, my opinion on golf is more golf events, more fields, more events, whether it's the Asian Tour or the Saudis or the Korn Ferry, whatever it is, 50-1 on the Saudi Tour or the Olympic Golf or whatever tour you're betting on. 50-1 pays 50-1. So more golf is what I prefer. I don't think the PGA has more of a moral standing than Saudi Arabia when it comes down to it. The PGA has their own set of problems, and the only thing is they don't buy weapons from the United States. So I don't really have a concern with whether or not there's a Saudi league or the PGA, as long as there's fields to bet on. But it does look like the Saudis are not going to be able to go forward with this league. If they do, it's going to be very interesting to see who actually fills it, because it does not look like anybody is following Phil down this blood money path at this point. So that's the last week or so in golf that matters to the betting side. I wanted to go over the AL Rookie of the Year market real quick, but I'm gonna take a break first. You'll hear a word from our sponsor, and I'll be back. So stay tuned. Welcome back, Wide World of Weingarten. This is the second half of the show. First half was mostly golf stuff. I wanted to go over the AL Rookie of the Year market this week. Next week, I will go over the NL Rookie of the Year. But I decided I'd start with the AL because it was the first thing I bet. As if you've read my stuff, or if you've listened to the podcast or some of the other podcasts I've done or appearances on VSiN lately, my first bet was Julio Rodriguez to win the AL Rookie of the Year at 16-1. I bet $2,000 on that, so it's 2 to win, 32 at 16. So that's a cool bet. I'm happy with that. He's down to 10-1 at DraftKings. He's down to, let's see, 6-1 at Camby, which is a pretty big dip, but probably slightly better number than that current 10-1 that's still available at DraftKings. I make it 8-1 personally, 7.5-1 if I'm getting aggressive. But I wanted to just go over the AL Rookie of the Year market in general. And if you listened, I was on Will's New York City Cast podcast today as a guest. He asked me a little bit about my futures process, and I discussed it slightly more than I was planning to. But I really don't mind explaining to people how I do it, because even if I explain to you how I do it, I'm not 100% sure you'll replicate it the same way I do. And I'm just not particularly afraid of a ton of competition. So, explaining what I do, how I do it, I don't mind explaining more or less where I start. So with the AL Rookie of the Year, with any market like this, first thing I do is I look at the available players in the market, and I do have to give credit to DraftKings, because in years past, you'd maybe get 10 guys, 12 guys in a field. You'd have the ability to request guys, but I see 10, 12, 14, 16, 20, 30. I see over 40 players listed for just the AL Rookie of the Year at DraftKings, which is great, because if you are very confident in, a George Kirby or a Nate Pearson or an AJ Puck, if you have a certain pitcher that you're very confident that is elite and is going to pitch, 130 or 150 innings and can replicate, numbers even better than Tyler Rogers last year, you have ample opportunities to bet your guys. But for me, I just go through this list. I see Brent Honeywell 90-1. I'm probably throwing that out. Maybe not. I might actually come back to Honeywell, just because 90-1 on a guy who could actually throw innings is compelling. But other guys on this list: Nick Prado, Jake Berger 75-90-1. We can throw those guys out. Richie Palacio 65-1. George Kirby 65-1. I'm gonna just throw those guys out. Stephen Kwan 55-1. I don't actually even know who that is. I have to look that up. I'm gonna throw him out. AJ Axley 50-1. He's a pitcher for the Rangers. He's not gonna win Rookie of the Year. We could throw that guy out. You could just immediately go through this list and easily cross off 10 plus guys. Kyle Isabel 30-1. That's a Royals prospect. No, he's not going to win, especially with Bobby Witt as one of the favorites at the top. I mean, some of these numbers, some of these guys that are 30-1 should be 300-1. AJ Axley could be 500-1. And again, I understand from a bookmaker's perspective, you don't just want to take action necessarily at 500-1, but that's the realistic chance a lot of these guys really have to win an award like this at a full season. And again, there is a risk that 162 games becomes 140 games, then becomes 120, becomes 100, then becomes 80, and when you cross that kind of 100 threshold, you get, you're getting closer to like we played the 2020 sort of like, I don't like calling it a fake season, but like the half season. All of a sudden a lot of pitchers are live. All of a sudden a Devin Williams comes out of nowhere. Literally out of nowhere. Nobody had Devin Williams as a Rookie of the Year candidate in 2020, and I still don't think he was a real candidate. I think it was kind of a joke giving it to a guy who pitched 28 innings or whatever he did. It was a short season, but that's what happens. All of a sudden in a short season, guys can put up really crazy stat lines over really short periods of time. Kyle Lewis earned the Rookie of the Year kind of by default. He had a good year, not a great year, but nobody challenged him in the AL in 2020. So sometimes it just weird things happen when you play less games. But assuming that we're going to play over 100 games, I'm really focusing on the top 10, 15 guys. Grayson Rodriguez, Jose Siri, really the cutoff. Jared Duran, 45-1. He's all right. I don't think Jared Duran's going to win a Rookie of the Year. Jose Siri, 45-1. Astros center fielder. I am interested in him. I think he's got a shot. Not going to make a huge bet on him, but I probably will. Add him sort of bottom of the card, as they say in horse racing. Grayson Rodriguez, 40-1. He's very good. He's not going to win just because I don't think he's going to pitch enough innings. I don't think Baltimore is going to aggressively pitch Grayson Rodriguez this year. Kyle Isabel, 30-1. Not interested in him. Royals player. Bobby Witt's the guy in Kansas City that you want if you think he's going to win. Talk about him in a minute. Luis Gil, I think he's a Yankees pitcher. Not really interested in him at 30-1. Tristan Casas, a little interested in him at 30-1. Not going to spend a lot of time on him right now. We'll talk about him later. Like a week from now or 2 weeks from now. Reed Detmers, pitcher on the Angels, 28-1. Too high. Vidal Brujan, middle infielder, probably second baseman on the Rays. He's not bad. I have a couple of his baseball cards. If he does actually get any hype, I would absolutely sell those cards. They're in this bag I have here of unopened. This is all my unopened baseball stuff from last season still. Hopefully gonna get to opening that in the next month or two. But I got some Vidal Brujan cards in there. And then after Brujan at 28-1, you get to sort of the more interesting tier of guys. And Joe Ryan, 20-1. He was traded from the Rays to the Twins last year. That's just a terrible line. 20-1. He might as well be 100-1. No offense, but it's just not a sexy. He's not going to put up sexy numbers that compete with any of the guys above him. Riley Green, 15-1. He really crushed the minors, forced the Tigers to push him up to AAA. I think he probably will reach the majors in 2022 in some fashion. Not dying to bet him at 15-1. I saw Camby had him a little like 20-1 or something. It's a little better, but not my favorite. I think I like Julio Rodriguez better. Jeremy Pena is still out there at 11-1 at DraftKings. He is the inside track to start at shortstop for the Astros if Carlos Correa is not back and does not look like he's going to be back. I think he is a very interesting guy, probably slightly more interesting than Jose Siri, although Jose Siri, depending on how many at-bats he gets and where he's hitting in the lineup, like if he's a leadoff hitter, that would be a very compelling number at 45-1. But Jeremy Pena, 11-1, a little bit of a sleeper if he's the everyday starting shortstop for the Astros. Not saying he's going to be, but he is currently penciled in on the depth chart as the starter. Julio Rodriguez down to 10-1. I'm using the DraftKings numbers here. That's still not bad. I would probably put him a little lower, around 8-1, because the next guy ahead of him, or the guy he's tied for right now, Josh Jung, who's a third baseman, first base, third base for the Texas Rangers, was just recently shut down with a shoulder injury. Like Friday was shut down with a shoulder injury, and I mean, this is kind of one of those things. I guess nobody's paying attention to it, or nobody cares, whatever. But you might as well push that number out to 100 to 1. Guy's shut down. He's not going to be aggressively promoted in Texas with a kind of a team that's a year away from competing still. I don't see him playing 100 games. I don't necessarily see him playing 75 games. And when you're doing Rookie of the Year stuff, you have to factor in playing time. Wander Franco ended up with 2 first-place votes, putting up a record-breaking numbers for the time he was in. He practically tied Frank Robinson's on base streak and got nothing for it. Randy Rosarena, who is good, but nowhere near Wander Franco's level, ended up winning it. But I promise I won't bring up Franco too often, too much. But I have to use him as an example here because you have to have playing time to win this award, and that's why guys like Jeremy Pena and Jose Siri stand out because they are rookies, they're on good teams, and they will be getting at bats. You just have to think those are better numbers than like Joe Ryan at 20 to 1, Reed Detmers at 28 to 1. All it takes is one bad start, 5, 6, 7 ERA, screws you for a whole month. You have to be very good. You have to be elite, Jose Fernandez level for a pitcher to win the Rookie of the Year. We saw Trevor Rogers only got 1 vote. It was a Fangraphs vote, so the guy thought he was doing something cool or analytical, whatever. But the voting body does not lean towards pitching unless it's elite level, and I don't see a bunch of elite level guys here. What I do see is Shane Baz, who's interesting at 8 to 1. But again, all it's going to take is one bad start or a blister or a shoulder fatigue or something, and he's shut down. And the Rays being the cheapskates and kind of manipulators that they are, there's no guarantee that they don't screw around with them and send them to the minors or put them on the DL. Things like that are known to happen with teams that are intent on saving money. But Josh Jung, he should not be the 5th favorite, tied with Julio Rodriguez. He should be 100 to 1. Normally, I would want to be paid as a consultant for telling books that their numbers are this wrong, but I don't. I mean, this one's free. I already bet the Julio Rodriguez, but Josh Jung is just way off. Like, that number is not accurate at all. And that's why these numbers it's early and they can make mistakes, but somebody should really fix that and drop them to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, something, but 10 to 1, I mean, come on, like that's just bad number. After Shane Baz, you have this triumvirate at the top. These kind of 3 co-favorites. Numbers are a little different. It can be. There's some value on Adley Rutschman there, maybe. But Bobby Witt, 3 to 1. Spencer Torkelson, 4.5 to 1. And Adley Rutschman, 5.5 to 1 are your top 3 favorites in the AL. According to me, and according to Camby, who has dropped Julio Rodriguez to 6 to 1, they think it's more of like a quad group of favorites. And I agree with that. I think Julio has a chance at as much playing time as a Spencer Torkelson or an Adley Rutschman, probably slightly an inside track at more. His biggest threat would be Bobby Witt being a day 1 shortstop for the Royals, which I don't know if that's the plan or not at the moment, but Bobby Witt is definitely a deserving favorite. I have a couple of his baseball cards. I'm planning on getting them graded. Hopefully they're back by the start of the season, whenever that may be, so I could flip them. But Torkelson, Rutschman, Witt are 3 legitimate future stars, and Julio Rodriguez absolutely deserves to be the same bracket as them in price. And already Camby's sort of adjusted, and I don't know if that's necessarily from me or them just realizing that the numbers was way off, but 10 to 1 with Josh Jung for Julio Rodriguez is still too high. I would just tell you, if you have some money and you want to bet that down, go for it. I've already bet it. But but it is sort of a four-way favorite to start the AL. I like Julio Rodriguez the best at the prices currently available, because we just don't know if the O's are gonna aggressively push Rutschman, or if the Tigers have any incentive for Torkelson. I do think we see Torkelson fairly soon, if not to start the season, especially because he already has the college seasoning. But Bobby Witt, the obvious main threat to Julio Rodriguez. But if Julio Rodriguez, like I said, if he's as good as the market thinks he is, and his card prices indicate that the market is very much in love with him, then it should be a good bet. And I'm happy to be holding 16-1 when the legal markets have already been pushed down to 6 and 10-1, and not entirely by me, because my bets only moved it from, say, 16 to 15. So, let's see what happens and see if they actually get baseball off the ground anytime soon. But that is my early look at the 2020 AL Rookie of the Year market. And then, it is the football off season, but the football world never sleeps. And when I do get ideas and stuff I want to bet on, I bet it. So I took a small bet on the Vikings to win the Super Bowl at 40-1 next year. I know that's a bit of a crazy bet, but I think with the offensive infrastructure that they already have in place with Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen, it's a nice core for the new head coach, Kevin O'Connell, who was the offensive coordinator for the Rams. He's coming over, bringing a bunch of Rams assistants with him. Potentially they can install their offense, a similar offense to what they just won the championship with in LA. And the Jefferson, Thielen, Cook, Cousins combo gives them a nice, core to start working with, especially if they can add some impact players in the draft. The Packers, full my thoughts on the Packers. I definitely think Aaron Rodgers is coming back. You would imagine that the hiring of his old quarterback coach Tom Clements is some indication that they're at least assuming he's going to be back, which makes me think that they're going to invest whatever's necessary for the stretch run. And I assume this is probably Aaron Rodgers' last season. They might do a 2-year deal, but I think he knows he's coming back for one last season. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why he's coming back, why I think he's coming back. But one of the main ones being that Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk pointed out, if he retires this year, he'll go into the NFL Hall of Fame the same year as Tom Brady, and he will be second fiddle that entire ceremony and weekend. And I just don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to do that. And Florio pointed that out, and he's totally right. So I think he plays another season, most likely in Green Bay. But endings don't always happen the way you intend them to. And not everyone gets to walk off into the sunset with a championship. So if the Packers do take a step back, if something does happen, if Rodgers gets hurt, it's a wide open division. Don't count out the Lions. Second year with Dan Campbell could be a good spot. But, Kevin O'Connell with Kirk Cousins, I think that's a very interesting group. It sort of reminds me of Jim Harbaugh taking over the 49ers. I think O'Connell can have the Vikings not necessarily turned around, because you got to remember it was already an 8-win team last year, but he can definitely be the kind of coach that comes in with a already established team and takes them to the next level. So that's what I got today. We'll go into golf a little deeper tomorrow. And Julio Rodriguez, if you want to grab some of those 10-1s out there, I think my fair line has them closer to 7.5. Should be ahead of Shane Baz. And Vikings 40-1 to win the Super Bowl is my first NFL bet of the 2022 NFL season that is still a ways away. But that's what I got for today. Thank you for listening, and I will be back with a full golf card tomorrow.